If there's one type of video game that holds its ground as the simplest to learn, it's the party game. Games that anyone can pick up and play with very little instructions needed, from Anticipation on the NES to Jackbox Games' party packs. But what happens when a party game doesn't follow the norm, and instead is a complex game focused on a battle of wits and playing the perfect strategy? Well, the answer to that question lies in a late-era Wii game published by Square Enix and released in December of 2011 called Fortune Street. In this episode of Cartridges and Consoles, we'll take a look at this unique type of party game and see how it has a lot of potential to be a great game to play with friends, so long as you have some that are willing to learn the ropes. Now, before we talk about Fortune Street on the Wii, we need to talk about its history. Pop quiz. How many predecessors does Fortune Street have? 2? Maybe 3? The answer is 9. Fortune Street is better known by its Japanese name, Itadaki Street, and had its first entry released in 1991 only in Japan for the original Nintendo Famicom system. It eventually started getting published under the company Enix before they merged with Square in 2003. Throughout its time, the series stayed exclusive to Japan, at least until E3 2011. In a time where Square Enix and Nintendo were working together again, making games like Chrono Trigger for the DS and Mario Sports Mix for the Wii, the opportunity came up for the 10th game in the series to finally make its way out of Japan, releasing in Europe as Boom Street and here in North America as Fortune Street. Now, as for the game itself, the best way to describe Fortune Street is if Monopoly had a stock market. Each board is divided into several districts, and each district has a set amount of shops, akin to color groups and streets from Monopoly. As you traverse around the board, you can buy an unowned shop in a district if you land on it, and having more than one shop in a district expands all your shops in said district, increasing their value, shop prices, and max capital, or the maximum investment amount. Having all of the shops in a given district is considered a domination and greatly increases the value of all of the shops in said district. Landing on a shop already bought out by an opponent will require you to pay the value indicated on the space. However, landing on your own shop will allow you to invest in any of your shops on the board, up to their max capital or up to 999 credits, whichever is lower. As all of the shops on the board expand, the district stock price will also go up in value, meaning the price of each individual stock someone owns in said district will be worth more. This stock price can also be increased by people buying stock in a district, as well as can be decreased by selling stock in groups of 10 or by shops downsizing in value. In addition to grabbing shops, you will also need to collect 4 suits laid out around the board: a spade, a heart, a diamond, and a club. Bringing all 4 suits back to the bank where your journey started will earn you a promotion and a money salary, which is determined by several factors, including your previous level and the amount of shops you own. The bank is also the main place to purchase stocks for any district you choose, up to 99 at once. As the game progresses, your net worth, which is the sum of your ready cash, your shop values, and your stocks, will increase and decrease. Once your net worth has reached a certain value, you must get back to the bank as fast as possible in order to be declared the winner. You can also win by having the highest net worth after a certain number of players go bankrupt, meaning all of their assets are sold off and their net worth is exactly or below 0. In addition to all of this, you also have the opportunity to land on venture squares on the board, which are the equivalent of Monopoly's chance card or community chess squares, where you pick a card on a board and hope for the best. These venture cards can be good, bad, or anything in between, and it's always random which cards are laid out on the board of 64. There's also several other squares around the board that can alter the game, like the arcade, which allows you to play a short minigame to try and earn profits, boon squares, which can earn you commissions on all profits made for a turn, take a break squares, which close all your shops for a day, warp squares, taking you to another location. The list goes on and on. You can even try to set up trade deals to try and get someone else's properties for cash or other properties, or vice versa. Now, if that dissertation of an explanation seems too complex for you, there are easy rules the game has that eliminate the stock market entirely and focus on you only buying shops, with your shops expanding if you have a number of them in a row. As for modes, the main campaign option is the game's tour mode, where you have to complete boards from 3 tours. There's the Dragon Quest Tour, where you face off against Dragon Quest characters on Dragon Quest boards, the Super Mario Tour, where you face off against Mario franchise characters on Mario-themed boards, and the Special Tour, which has you going against a mix of both franchise characters on unlockable boards from both series. Additionally, you have the option to play free play alone or with friends, which allows you to play any board you want with custom rule sets, and there's also online support if you played this game before 2014. Lastly is the Character Creator, which allows you to customize your Mii with any accessories, outfits, and moves that you want, so long as you've bought them from the game store ahead of time. Now, while the standard rules for the game are very complex to learn, the game does have some things that it does right. For one, the inclusion of the Super Mario and Dragon Quest franchises is done really well here. This is nothing new to the series, as Dragon Quest characters have been included in Itadaki Street games since Square Enix started publishing them, and even the Super Mario Bros. Characters on boards were introduced in the game's direct predecessor, Itadaki Street DS. That being said though, they still did a great job of incorporating both franchises here. All of the characters cover every end of their respective franchises, and they act almost exactly as you would expect them to in this type of game. In addition, all the boards are based off of locations in both franchises, which immediately makes them recognizable to any fans of either series. Plus, almost every music track in the game is a remix of a theme from either franchise, with longtime Dragon Quest composer Koichi Sugiyama lending their talents to this game. And you can tell they did an outstanding job not just remaking Dragon Quest themes, but also remastering themes from the Super Mario franchise as well. This level of inclusion makes it so the Dragon Quest and Super Mario franchises are more intertwined into the game as a whole, and are much more than a selling point you could put on the box to sell copies to those that don't know better.
You know I can hear you, right?
Additionally, this game can definitely be entertaining with a group. Having other people to play with opens up the potential for a lot of chaos, and like other party games such as Mario Party, this game is one that can destroy friendships as quickly as it can make them. You can attempt to bribe your friends to make trade deals work, watch as they land on some of your most expensive properties and pay the price, or even try to sabotage them by crashing their stock markets as they near victory. The possibilities are near endless, and it means Fortune Street can turn into a frantic and fun experience if you play with friends. Keyword, if. Yeah, one of the biggest issues with Fortune Street is that the level of enjoyability and quality goes far south when you have nobody to play with. For one, you're only allowed to use your Mii character when you play in single player. You're not allowed to play as any of the Mario or Dragon Quest characters. I could sort of understand this for the tour campaign, but in free play it seems like a sin. You really should be able to play as any character you want when playing by yourself in free play with custom rule sets. Additionally, the CPUs are, for the lack of a better term, assholes in this game. They'll buy out your properties, mostly in districts you dominate, for no reason, and will deny any trade deals and the like you try to make happen. It doesn't matter how much you lose out on a deal. The CPUs will be hell-bent on holding the Guinness World Record for the most uncooperative person and will not budge. Also, as exemplified with how much I need to describe the standard rules, this game is far from easy to learn. Worse, the tutorial is only available in single player, and the manual for the game outshines most children's books at 22 pages per language. So if you're lucky enough to play this game with friends one day, unless you go with the easy format, half of the time you're going to be describing the rules. Plus, Fortune Street games can sometimes be very, very long, and for some godforsaken reason, you cannot save your progress at all in multiplayer. This means you have to trudge through a whole game of Fortune Street in one sitting, and if you can't do that, you either have to keep your console on indefinitely or abandon the game entirely, which is just gross. Granted, sometimes your game can be the same length as a Mario Party board, but still having no option to save in multiplayer does really hurt this game. Overall, Fortune Street is an interesting party game that comes with a lot of promise, but also has a lot of problems. It's one of the most complex games to learn the basics of, but if you're willing to sit through a lot of instructions, it can provide a fun and entertaining experience with friends or a group. However, past that multiplayer aspect, the game is severely lacking, especially with a single-player campaign that doesn't feel as rewarding or fun, meaning this game is one you should either exclusively play with others, or sadly not play at all. Fortune Street on the Nintendo Wii gets my rating of 5 cartridges out of 10.